Hello and welcome to Weather and Wellness for June 1st, 2025. Today we're going to be looking at a barometric drop that's coming up in London and southern England, and also looking at global solar activity that will be affecting everyone in the world in terms of geomagnetic conditions, and some places will have high UV a little more than others. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look. Welcome, I'm Sheila O'Connor. I'm a health coach and educator. On this channel, we look at how diet and lifestyle can be utilized to support how we navigate the weather and its impact on our bodies and our minds and our spirits as we go through each day and each week. Sometimes we don't even know why we're not feeling well, and we're doing the same thing we always do, and then we get more tired, or a headache, or different things are coming up. And sometimes it's the weather because it's dynamic and it's changing all the time. So while there's all these things that we can control, we can't control the weather all the time. So let's get started. We're gonna take a look at the barometric pressure here in London. Now, from Monday morning to Tuesday morning, that's tomorrow, the 2nd of June, to Tuesday morning, the 3rd of June, there's going to be a rapid drop in the barometric pressure. And that means I'm going to send my daughters a text message. I'm going to send a few friends a text message, and I'm going to say barometric pressure alert, and they're going to know what to do because they have tendencies towards migraines. And so this is a migraine warning for those living in England, southern England, that tend to get migraines when the pressure drops. Other symptoms may be joint pain, also cardiovascular irregularities. And one that I tend to get is just really, really tired when this change happens, because the the whole entire body has to deal with it. And what's actually happening when the pressure drops is it's changing the pH of the body. All the cells have to do this work to kind of reorganize and come into balance. There's different levels of oxygen going, and ultimately it reduces cerebral oxygen and blood flow. So all these things together kind of create this perfect cascade of symptoms that cause the blood flow to the brain to be reduced and constricted. So we want to kind of support that, loosen things up. And the best way to do that is with a little apple cider vinegar drink. I talk about it all the time. Put a little apple cider vinegar in a glass of water. You can do it ordinary room temperature water. You can make a warm drink and put some honey in it. I made a little previous video of that you can look at. One warning about the apple cider vinegar: do not drink it straight. It's actually really bad. It can burn through some of your stuff. But when it's with water, with mixed in a drink, in a vinaigrette, all those ways are great ways to do it. So we're going to increase our acid with vinaigrettes, with sauces, with drinks, in order to kind of try to get through this and stay stable without support this cerebral blood flow situation before it gets worse. So let's have a quick look at what that looks like on the barometric chart. Okay, there we go. So this is for London, England, and here's the chart. And you can see here we are today. This is where we are, not today, this is where we were a couple days ago. So we've been pretty stable, actually, and it's been really quite lovely. Almost high. What are we at? What did we get to? Is that showing us? Yeah, really close to high if you look here. And looks like tomorrow we're gonna stay pretty nice. Then, why can't I? Usually that will show. Oh yeah, okay, let's look at this graph and then we'll look at another one. So you can see it's gonna go up, and then it's just gonna go down, down, down. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, that shows us the times. This is Monday morning at 10 a.m. So that's the peak. Monday morning at 10 a.m. Then it's going to go down, 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 down. It's going to hit low pressure by 4 p.m. So oh wait, sorry, 4 a.m. I can't read. Try to do this without my glasses. I'm getting my new glasses tomorrow, my prescription reading glasses to work on the screen. So I'm really excited about that. Um, Tuesday at 4 a.m. all the way until Tuesday at 4 p.m. So we are just going to be dropping, 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 dropping. So those are the times tomorrow morning until Tuesday afternoon. And if you're not taking some consideration with that, your body will feel it. There will be extra fatigue. I think this is a pretty rapid drop. Most people will feel that. And if you do get these tendencies towards migraines and the joint and muscle kind of pain, this is kind of a little way to try and prevent that from happening, right? So I've got my barometer right here. It's right, it's currently right in the middle, like it says, but as we look at it later this week, I'll be seeing it dropping. And I do keep this around and I look at it. I don't always look at my stuff online. I'm looking at that. Let's finish looking at this. Um, oh yeah, we don't need that. We'll just see what this looks like on the radar. Sorry for the zooming in and out. I'm still learning how all this stuff goes. Let's zoom out so we can just watch it. Let's watch it. Here it goes. It's gonna just be moving through. It's not necessarily super low, but you can see that it's moving. Here we go. Yeah, we've got that blue moving in right there. That is what's happening. So as that moves in, it's everything in the atmospheric pressure is going to be shifting. And as our bodies are interacting with the atmospheric pressure, then we are going to have to deal with that. And it kind of looks like it's going to be moving on through the week. So later in the week, the pressure will be low, but our bodies will adjust to it, right? We always have this homeostasis that our body is trying to maintain, and it knows how to do it on its own. It can either do it that we support it to get through this transition, or it can give us like a migraine or joint and muscle pain or extreme fatigue, and we have to sleep. And we might have to sleep anyway, but either way, our body will get to balance. And even if we have more low pressure, we'll be regulated now to the new conditions. Okay, so that's sort of how that's working. So let me know how that works for you. This is your, I call them pirate alarms, in the movie Swiss Family Robinson, they're setting up all those funny things and the little boy gets so excited and what do they put? They put like coconuts or something on the hillside and then there's a pirate alarm. So, you know, looking at the weather is kind of our pirate alarm a little bit so we can know what to do. So let's go ahead and then the next thing that we're going to look at and talk about today as we're moving into the week is solar weather. And solar weather comes in some different forms. Solar weather comes as geomagnetic conditions, and that's like the atmosphere, the layers of the atmosphere, and interacting with like plasma and particles coming from the sun. Now, there's lots of other people that are out there explaining all the specifics of that. I know how to read some of the basics and I understand that it does impact our bodies, our minds, our spirits, kind of everything. I think for me, I get really, really tired. We are in the peak of the solar cycle right now, and there's been a lot of auroras. I think this is why so many people have been taking trips for northern lights because this is the time in the 11 years, 11 give or take years cycle where the sun is having the greatest activity and the northern lights or the auroras are peaking. So whenever there's an alert of the auroras, that means that there's a lot of solar activity. So it's nice eye candy. It's really pretty and beautiful. And it certainly is. And it's also it's a pirate alarm in its own way because that that activity from the sun that's interacting with our atmosphere is going to interact with all the biology, right? That's the biometeorology that we're looking at. It's one component of it. It's all very dynamic and it's interacting all together. The other part of the sun, we're now in June, we're moving into the summer season, and places, the atmosphere is warming up as the days get longer and longer. So some places are going to have a really high UV, and it's really important to have a look at that. In your local weather app, whichever one you're using, you can get a lot of this information. So you want to look at the UV, the temperature, again, like if the barometer is moving up or down, you can like these apps are getting way more sophisticated now with in terms of air quality and allergies so that you can be paying attention to your respiratory health and also starting to recognize how you feel. Like whenever this happens, I feel really tired, or I feel maybe even a little depressed, maybe anxious. And we'll talk a little bit about the anxiety here. Let me just say that we are right now in a big geomagnetic storm. You may have heard about it. You may have even seen the auroras if you're in the US or Canada. It came quite quick yesterday when the solar flare hit off, and they were expecting it in 2 to 3 days, and it basically came within like 24 hours. And it's still uncertain whether that's gonna mean it'll be shorter or longer. So we're kind of in it right now. I actually took a nap this afternoon because I couldn't even stay awake, and that could have been a variety of reasons, but it could have been also related. All right, so here is our biometeorological forecast for London. And you can see here that we have the sensitivity is a 4 out of 5. That is very high. That's what I was saying. I think a lot of people are going to be noticing that. And this is just all, so this is showing all possible conditions, right? It could be the sun, it could be the moon, it could be the barometric pressure, it could be air quality related to allergies or fires, which I know there's fires in Canada. So over there, you'll be needing to pay attention to all the air quality warnings for yourselves. And so it'll break it down. I don't think that we're only looking at the sun at the moment. So you can see that geomagnetic conditions are a 3, solar activity is a 1. So most of this is coming from the geomagnetic conditions, okay? Okay, I'm gonna put my glasses on here while we look. And then let's look at this one. This is for Boulder. I decided to pull up a few other places today. Boulder, Colorado, also a 4. They are a 3 and a 3 over there. So in the mountains, they have, let's see. So there's solar activity from geomagnetic conditions and from the sun. That's the UV. Boulder also is going to have low pressure coming through. That's good. So you're on a migraine alert as well. I'm not really sure what your graph looks like for that one. But you can see here in the middle of the day in Boulder, Colorado, we're at a 9 out of 10 for UV. So you definitely want to be staying out of the sun if you can and getting as much protection as you can if you happen to be out of it. And even from 11 until looks like almost 5 o'clock, like it's a really long period in the day that you're either in the high or very high zone for the UV index. Okay, so that's Boulder. Let's have a look at, for some reason, I wasn't able to get San Francisco to come up. So I looked at Sausalito, which is just north of San Francisco. Again, You see, there's a four, like you're gonna see this pattern coming through, and the three is the geomagnetic conditions. Everybody on the planet is dealing with that right now. Looks like the UV is also high. Yeah, not quite as high as Colorado, but still pretty high there in the middle of the day into the high and very high zones. So make sure you're taking precautions when you're out there. And let's see here. I just decided to pick a place in Europe. Besides London, again, we have the four, we have a three and a two, the UV index over in Milan. Okay, well, it's nighttime now. It's the end of the day. It's 6 o'clock over there, but let's see. So tomorrow, it's not as high as it is in North America, in the west of North America, but it's up just in these 2 hours from 12 to 2 or 3. It's getting into the high zone. And I picked one more place. Let's see what I picked. Cairo over in Egypt. I'm sure they have both, but again, here's that four. And if you look anywhere in the globe, you're going to see a four for today because the geomagnetic conditions are so strong from the storm. And when we look at that storm, this is on the NOAA website, and it says right here that we are in a G4 storm. Right here, the solar wind speed is 962 kilometers per second. So there was a solar flare. There's all this plasma going on, and it's just being like thrust right towards Earth. And let me see if we have the image of that. These graphs, like I said, there's websites that are totally dedicated to these graphs. Think, can we push play on this one? Some of these actually are moving, and you can just see the different things that are going on in the geomagnetic level. I'm not going to do all of that right now because that's really not what it's about. But anytime there's an aurora forecast, that is going to, like I said, also be pirate alarms. And the last thing I want to look at is just this area down here, the KP index. See green, the green part, that's where just kind of normal as usual. There's always plasma. There's always like stuff coming in from the sun. It's usually coming in more like 400 kilometers per second. That's just the pattern I've noticed from the data. But and then it comes faster and faster, and it just really stirs everything up. And when it comes faster, it usually brings extra elements with it, extra plasma and things that are coming. But that's something that we're dealing with, right? And like I said, people talk about that, and you can have a look. So that's something everyone's dealing with. Let's see. Let's break this down into we'll talk about the solar activity and then the UV. So the solar activity it can impact a lot. Again, it's not it's not totally different from the barometric pressure in terms of all the things it can trigger because it's coming through the atmosphere, and getting outdoors and doing like forest bathing or grounding your feet on the ground can really feel good. Taking a shower, I find to be really refreshing when everything is stirred up, and it can even feel confusing. It can cause feelings of confusion or anxiety. It can also just cause extreme fatigue if you're trying to figure out why you've been so tired. We've been having For the last 2 weeks, we've been having a lot of periods of this KP index moving up and just these big impacts of solar winds coming through really fast. The geomagnetic conditions comes through also with our cardiovascular system, so it can impact heart rate. If there's some irregular heart rate coming on, you can support that with potassium specifically. And potassium would be things like avocado, sweet potato, citrus, apples, the proverbial banana for your potassium. Again, that will be helpful also with any muscle cramping and dealing with the pressure dropping. So you want to really be paying attention to that. And of course, your lemon water or apple cider vinegar water is going to be really great as well. In terms of the UV, it's really important to, first of all, stay hydrated. And it just takes a lot of energy because your body is having to deal with that heightened radiation. It can cause a lot of glycation. So it's best in terms of your diet. And besides staying hydrated, is to eat things like just don't eat sugar and processed food because it's not good for your cells. Basically, you're frying them and you want your cells to be like nice and fluid and bouncy and able to kind of go through and do all the things that they need to do. A little over 10 years ago now, I was doing a lot of long distance cycling, including doing the AIDS ride from San Francisco to LA. I did that twice. And shout out to all the riders who are leaving San Francisco this morning, and it's the last ride. So I hope you have a wonderful ride. If you live in California, cheer them on when they're coming through your area. It's always a really good time. So, in terms of the heat, what I wanted to mention is that when I was cycling, we had the Northern California bunch from San Francisco and Northern California, and then the Southern California bunch. And very blessed in Northern California. Our training season is super mild and we have the nice fresh sea breeze and then as soon as the days start getting longer and warmer, the way that we have to train is really starting to change. And I did notice I would get headaches on the long rides when it was really hot. Like headaches I couldn't get rid of, like in other conditions. Again, that what worked before didn't work, and I couldn't understand why. And the variable, it turns out, was the weather. Now, I did learn as I got more sophisticated and understood the nutrition related to training is that again, it's that cerebral blood flow that's impacted when it's hot and everything gets constricted, and that does cause headaches when it gets really hot, and it can also restrict circulation in your extremities, and maybe you might be prone to rashes or something when you're doing long exercise when the weather is hot. Then that doesn't happen when the weather's not so hot. So in the end, what I started doing was I would preventively take an aspirin, or I tried not to have too much caffeine. There's like training is all over the place. And 12 years ago, it was even different. There's more science now. But it did occur to me recently that olive oil has salicylic acid in it, which is the same chemical as is in aspirin. So I would lend to believe that having olive oil when the UV index is high and it's really hot, and you could be prone to getting those headaches in the heat, I think olive oil would be a really good thing to be adding to your diet to support your cerebral and all your blood flow to your extremities. So I think that covered the most of it. So wherever you are, check your barometric pressure. We're going to have a big drop in the next couple days. They're going to have a drop in Boulder. It looks like theirs is probably already started. You can have a look for yourself wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in today. Happy June. Have a great week. If you want to sign up for my monthly newsletter that just was sent out today, go ahead and sign up. I'll leave the link below and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.